Does anybody have a question? And the reason why I ask that, because the whole of life is discovering.
Where do you go? Where do we go when we're not in the moment? Because I come back from somewhere, but I don't know where I go.
La La Land.
There's a certain truth to that. Ask me that same question.
Again?
I don't go anywhere. I'm always staying in the now. There isn't any place I know, because you can't deal with the future because you don't know what the future is. You have no possible knowing if you don't live in the now. And even living in the now, I do not know what's going to happen next. I do not have to know what's next. I just wait for it to happen. In other words, when I'm saying that, it is that happenstance could be anything. You could have a car crash, or it could be anything. You do not know what it is, and so you can't. What's the point of figuring the future out, wondering about the future?
I'm not worried about the future.
Yeah, but we're dealing with the future and the past. And of course, we're talking about now, where are you? Are you figuring out, trying to fix yourself? That's your future, trying to figure out yourself. You're looking to the future because the future is coming towards you as you're coming towards them. But you still don't know what it is. And when it hits you, you still don't know how to deal with it. And it just multiplies and multiplies and multiplies and multiplies until you go crazy. Because everything upsets you. Nothing works for you. Nothing. You found that out, haven't you?
Oh, of course.
I'm sitting here. If there's only one person, I just do a program. I help one person. And so what you need to discover is through meditation, be still and know. And don't read the Bible. Don't read the Bible unless you open the Bible at any page. And that would be foretelling, for future. It is the kind, you don't know what you're looking for, don't read it from one book to another. New Testament, forget the Old Testament. Just forget it, except in the beginning there was a void and dark. That's physics. You're not in the world of physics yet. I'm in the world of physics, and I can read that beginning. It's right on. See? I know exactly how to write that in physics and stick it up their nose when it comes time. And that's the future, which may not ever happen. But I enjoy enjoying the happenstance in itself. It is beautiful, if not for anybody else. It's beautiful for me. A leaf, I like the leaf. How does the leaf know how to be a leaf? How does a tree know how to be a tree? How did it decide to build itself? I mean, there's something marvelous, not only in the earth, but the whole universe is still expanding. I don't know what the future is. I can guess it, how the future. Jesus says, how is it you can see the storm coming, but you can't see something about politics? I have to use a word. You can't see, what's going on now.
At a time.
Yeah. You can see that, but you can't see the moment you need to see things. He makes that point. Now, I didn't make it very good, but it's there if you look for it. So, does that help you a little bit? Or did I carry it away too far?
No, you didn't carry it away. It just always interesting to me because when I become aware, it's like I go like this, and I become aware, but I don't know
Where are you now?
I'm in the room with you right now.
This is now.
This is now.
So when you get up and go to the toilet, where will you be?
Now.
You're in the toilet now.
Right.
It's always now. And you're walking there, it's now. There is no time. You do not live in time. My body lives in time, my soul doesn't.
So you're just living in unawareness when you're not.
But look how simple. Just stop for a minute. I have no sense of time. My soul is timeless. Your soul should be timeless. But the trouble is your timeless self is lost in time because of emotion. And it becomes it, and the emotion is the force of your next misery. And miseries upon miseries upon miseries upon miseries, and there's no end till you die. When you come into the world, you hear me say that over and over again, you have intuition. Every child has intuition. There is even Hitler was born just the same as us, except he was born in an ugly place. And there's plenty of the person that murdered the 5,500 with a machine gun. If you look at his past, you see that several generations of wickedness, and who is going to be the most wickedness and the most powerful, and who is going to be the most daring of hating good, because there are people who hate good. Adolf Hitler, he understood all that. He knew how to change the history of Germany and then turned everybody into an army of murderers. And you can see our schools doing the same thing, taking away the history of how America became as powerful and wonderful as it is and still is. Some of it, at least. And that way, you can change a whole nation. And we're doing that, it's all happening with, I'm getting I have a little problem with words sometimes. But the, you know, people on, forgive me, I have to say this because I have problem with words sometimes. It's the internet, you know, the internet and
Facebook?
You know, not the internet, it's the people who, you have to help me with this, it's those who have newspapers and media. Media, that is that. Media is a lie. But the point is, the forces that control the media is the same as Hitler. They're behind the scenes to bring America down. And the schools the same way. And slowly but surely, you have half the country upside down, all thinking that they're Americans when they're not. They're born in America, but they have another way of thinking, which has been imprinted in them by the teachers, who have also been imprinted, etc., etc. And so we're going to lose our country. If you look at my Facebook, I write about that. I'm going to write about it today. I'm going to print it. But we're coming back. Important. you have to be still, but you can't do it yourself. The stillness I'm referring to is it's spiritual. It's spiritual. The scripture says, "Be still and know I am God and you ain't." See? So what that state is, you get from the 7-minute meditation. It does not teach you anything. It shows you how to disconnect your soul, spirit, from your monkey brain. I call the brain you have monkey brain because they made a monkey out of you. The school made a monkey out of you. But the school teachers were made a monkey out of them when they were small, and thinking that they're teachers, and thinking they're American, they teach what is un-American. And so you have Germany. So you have North Korea. Because it used to be one country. We used to be one country. Now we're divided. And you see the ones that are divided away from what is real are all crazy, perverts, no virtue. America is born on virtue. The knowledge of good and knowledge of evil, one nation under God, with freedom from all. I forget the whole thing. Anybody can say it to me. I appreciate it.
Liberty and justice.
Liberty and justice for all. But it's not that way anymore. We've allowed it to happen. And it's been going on for at least 80 years. They're very clever, those people. Generations and generations, they make sure that slowly but surely the media, and especially the media, and then the schools and universities, slowly but surely teach them rot. See? Oh. And, do you see the point? Now, the 7-minute meditation is different from Be Still and Know. Be Still and Know is me explaining, discussing things with you. And you listening, and I'm pointing out little things you might not see. And it's all very simple. But it needs to be spoken to you, so I see that, I see that, I see that. When, then you play it again next day and you read listening to the same thing, all of a sudden you see something else. Where you saw, and if you forgot what you saw, but it has so many meanings. So you get the first meaning, the second meaning, the third meaning, it's all the same words. Yeah.
How did you know? A lot of my life, I relate to what you're saying, you know, being in the moment, because a lot of my life I lived in my head, and I could have a conversation and be courageous in my head, but it was an artificial world. Because I see now, being in that still moment, that you're, because I remember there was a while ago I heard you say on the radio that the only thing wrong with you guys is courage. That's, you said it in a sweeping.
But there's courage and courage. There's a courage of going into a house on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And to rescue a dog and sacrifice your own life for it. That's really stupid.
Yes.
You need to let the dog die.
Right. But the being in the, I believe that, I know with me, and I see that being in the moment, it's not, it demands action at times. It demands honesty. It's I believe a lot of people, and I see a lot, you mentioned that don't read the Bible from front to back, because the church overall has turned religion into religion of the Bible, because they're not connecting to the moment like you are teaching people to do.
The danger of learning is trusting the teacher. And in the scripture, it says, know you not that you are the, oh dear, know you not that you are the Spirit.
Your body is a temple of God.
Yeah, that's right. Say it again.
You need no man to teach you.
Say, I want to hear it.
He said, you need no man to teach you.
I can't hear that.
You need no man to teach you.
Has no man to teach you. See? And it's understanding. We miss it. We miss it because the teacher, your rabbi or your preacher, is going to teach you, and he's going to read it to you, and he's going to teach you. And there it is. You cannot learn from a preacher. You need to get out of that church and run as fast as you can, because you have it within you. But otherwise, you've got a bunch of words and thoughts that you really don't understand, but you can rehearse it and get an applause for it.
Right.
Oh, I know the Bible. I know the Bible. I know the Bible.
That's right.
That's all it is. Open the book, especially in the New Testament, especially if you want. Never mind the rest of it as history. And history is valuable. And you can, if you want to do it, do it. But you can leave all that behind and listen to Jesus' words. And it's any one of them that will really actually, you got 28 different variations. But I think the basic one, which is the thee and they, which is King James. That's good. That's good enough.
It seems, I can't help but believe that the meditation, the simple, quiet prayer, it was taught.
No, you don't have to pray.
Right.
I don't want you to pray.
No, but
You don't know what prayer is.
But it says, be remolded from within and be
The
still and
mind
know.
The mind, something within.
Yes, yes.
Say it
be
again.
remolded from your within,
From
your mind
within.
from within. It seems like there's It seems like there's stuff that's been taken out. It seems, because that's
No.
describing.
There's sufficient information. Of course, you like to read the story about it, and it's no doubt correct. But what's more important in the story is Jesus speaking. It's nothing like the Old Testament, nothing. And you must not learn it. Not only must you get rid of your teacher, but you mustn't learn it off by heart. That's no good. What you need to do is open the Bible. Open the Bible, flick, 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 flick. Oh, I see that. All of a sudden, the light within you. Because if you're spiritual, you really know you don't know. And you want to know. And you can't want to know from a preacher or rabbi. Get rid of him. You don't. It says the scripture, you should have no man teach you anything. You need to understand it for yourself. No, you're not. You said it just a little while ago.
Don't trust into your own cleverness.
Yeah, that's right. So what happens is, if you're really searching, just open the book any place, and it will be intuitive. It will be magic. If you're searching, it will stop you in a certain place. The spiritualness is so powerful and subtle, so that what stops you is him stopping you. Say, oh, I never seen that before. It was only a word. All of a sudden it opens up. And you can put the Bible down for a week, a month, and it will never stop showing you this and that as you're walking down the street, visiting your neighbor, wherever you go. You're not the same anymore. You're just a little bit more than the same you were, but more. And that little piece will lead you to open the Bible again. Or it may last you for a whole year and you don't have to pick up the Bible. It goes one thing after another. The minute you get it, you're alive in a different way, but there is no zero sense of time. What you're experiencing is emotions being turned into air, gone. But what is taking it away is the love of your Creator. It's pushing the emotions out. It is dissolving the emotions. And so that you see clearly without having to emotional reactions that bother you inside and make you feel lost and confused and going to a church and this. This is not a church as other churches are. I want you to be independent. Independent. Not out-dependent. Be patient and understand that of yourself you can do nothing. The Father within you, He doth it. What more do you want? There's one there. It's there somewhere, isn't it? I'm not accustomed to reading it anymore. I haven't read the Bible for God knows how long. And maybe you have to open it up again, because I'm forgetting some of the things that have been taught me, but I can't remember what it is. But it still is. It's still inside me. I'm so busy going on further and further. I'm leaving the words behind. The words only have a value, and then the value is beautiful. It's seeing. You don't have to really remember it. There's nothing to remember. When you remember nothing in the manner of speaking, which I say you don't have to be that way, you see how I make mistakes. It's not a big deal, I got it. The words have gone away. I have what you need. And it never fails me. It never fails me. No matter what it is. Drugs, not drugs, how can I say that? But yes. I see more every day. I see the magic of it every day. The most horrible, most stupidest, most wickedest. I'm walking through quiet. Never mind what this is. Never mind what this is. I am still. There is no time inside me. My body has time, but my soul has no time. And because if you are reacting with respect to time, then you've lost your way of the timeless one. Your body is subject to time, yes, but your spirit is not. And so when your spirit is enlightened, then your body moves and has its being from within inside you. And I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't care what's going to happen next. I'm going to do exactly whatever happens, whatever I'm confronted. I had a problem with sepsis. It's a killer. And I won't tell you how it happened again. But within the minute I woke up, I was already all right. The minute I was over, except that in the hospital, the food was so bad, I couldn't eat it. And I said, "You need a." The first thing I said to the nurse that came in, I said, "What you should do is to kill the person that made this, and get somebody else and give them the same amount of money, but give us some decent food. How are you going to get better if you can eat this crap?" I said, well, all the nurses said, "Oh, that's all there is." I said, "I don't know how they survive." Anyway.
My wife brought my food in.
Yes.
We had the same experience.
I couldn't eat. But the point is, I've had so many terrible things happen to me. But terrible things are good. I love a terrible thing. I don't want to make it happen, but when it does happen, I deal with it. And I deal with it intuitionally, meaning I do not know what I'm about to say. I do not know what I'm about to do. I don't know what it's all about. I'm in that situation, but somehow it works. Everything bad happens for good for those that love the Lord. You can't miss that beauty. But the point is, where you're sitting, perhaps, you can't see what that means. Because you need terrible things to happen to you. If you're spiritual like Jesus, you expect terrible things to happen to you. Because most people are confused, broken, cruel, and they hate goodness. And when they see your goodness, they get upset and angry with you, and they don't even know. They call you all manner of things and harm you, and they don't even know they're harming you. They take a pleasure in it, like Hitler, Germany. He was able to make everybody do that and become killers. I'm trying to do the opposite, because everybody has got a little bit of that, and if it goes to where it shouldn't go to, the whole country would become, at least most of the country would become, and the rest of us who are wise and simple or looking for meaning, we are the devils, and they want to kill us. There's more of them than there is of us. I'm sure there's more of them than Roy Masters by himself. There are very few people who know what I know and have what I have, but I want to share it with everybody I can. I don't want it to be all mine. I don't want it to be all mine. I want it to give you a sense of it, how you can find it. That's my purpose. So you don't have to come to see me. So you can have a life of your own if you want to. And if you want to come and visit, yes, I like that too. I have something to share. And what I'm sharing has been given to me to share. And the more I give, the more I have to give. And in the to give, you're growing. And you're beginning to find eternal life. It's a movement to eternal life. The more, Jesus said, why call me, You see these people in the Christians, in the churches. I almost lost that point. I'm trying to. He says, "Why call me good? There is no one who is good. Only God is good." Does it say that correctly? Okay. So there is no good in the world, even in the nicest people. And because in the nicest people feel nice because people love nice people, and therefore nice remains unnice. But it looks like nice, and it ain't nice. It's not the nice that gets you eternal life, but eternal wife. And then you were stuck with that. And we need to go over that sometimes. I think you know what I mean.
Don't look at me.
That's right. Yeah. I'm not showing I'm going ahead of you, but you cannot learn the Bible. You don't want to try to remember it. If you do remember it, it's nice. If you don't remember it, you'll come across it again and see it differently. Or, sooner or later, there's an order in which you will discover everything. So it depends on where you open the Bible, and what you see for the first time, and what that is what you need.
Yeah.
It's always what you need.
It is fascinating what you're saying, that you don't remember, you don't. I remember years ago, my mind would give me answers. It's talking to me. I realized that this dark side is it's a manipulator through knowledge. It wants me. It's like it's a know-it-all. It wants me to know this, and that's all. Yes. That's all. And then it turns to judgment. Then it'll judge.
Yeah, but what you're saying before you said that was more important than what you just said. Mm-hmm. Evil knows the whole Bible.
Yeah.
It knows every single word. It has that kind of knowledge, and it knows to try to trap you into otherwise.
Right. And
the first thing it does is to upset you and make you doubt yourself. And doubt yourself is a direct opposite of faith. Mm-hmm. And so therefore you listen to the voice of faith, of what did I say? Doubt, yeah. Doubt is a powerful force. And it comes from an authority, a dark authority. And your parents are responsible for that because they're carrying forward what happened in Paradise Lost. Every person on earth carries that black, white, green, or pink. Pink, oh. I didn't know there was a pink person, but if you know what I mean. They're the worst. Perverts. And everybody becomes a pervert somewhere. Even the best of us are perverts. Even the most nicest people are perverts. You have to have an eye. You have to have the now. The now is eternal. But the now isn't your body. Your body is disposable. Or it can be made to be. As Jesus says, he was in that cave with a stone. And he was absolutely dead, came back alive. That he made a point. He made a point that there's such a thing as eternal life with its eternal strife. Because the more you understand, the more you terrify the powers that be. Terrify. I'm on the radio. And I say everything I say, I want to say, and I say it. And there's some things I say, the things I say that nobody wants to like to hear. And the people listening hate it. But that hate can have a value for me, because I will keep doing it, and they can't help but once they react, they begin to take a piece of me, whether they like it or not, and then they want more. But the trouble is, when they want more, they may hate me more, or they may love me more. But I don't give a damn what it is. You love me more, you're on your road. You hate me more, goodbye, go to hell. I'm not interested in you. I'm just looking for the people who recognize it. Oh, I see that. See? Actually, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but basically I'm a killer of evil. What's in me is a killer. It makes everybody else's life that wants to hurt me turn around and get better or disastrous. They'll never be the same again when a person listens to my program. Never. Because they either recognize it or hate me. It works for me both ways. What are you laughing at? I'm just making a little funny thing.
Can we speak a little bit about the forgiveness? Because I found
No, you mustn't forgive.
Right.
Do not forgive.
I
Just
found
let
it
it go.
fascinating that you brought that up several weeks ago, because, the turn the other cheek, the attitude of
Yeah,
not
but
being in
I don't like turning a cheek
Yeah, I
because
know.
I'll whack the other cheek.
I understand. It's not understood properly.
No,
and
it's
I
not.
don't think it's translated properly. But I think
But can I just tell you while I still have it?
yes.
You don't mind? If you see something that's disturbing, that's what you're speaking about, right?
Yes.
All right.
Intimidating. It could be intimidating.
The temptation is to judge. And so if you take my advice, and you can remember it, but the memory thing doesn't work sometimes, but I'm hoping I can get it deeper than your memory. See? You have the ability to see the cruelty, the dishonesty. You have it, see, even if you've been screwed already, it's all done.
Mm-hmm.
All you need to do is, I see that.
That's it.
That's it.
Right.
Of myself, I can do nothing. Therefore, I do nothing. And as long as I've done nothing, He loves me. He doth it.
Yes. So really
Is knowing of myself, I can do nothing.
forgiveness is really an incorrect translation.
Isn't that
really.
simple?
Yeah. Because only God forgives us. I think people.
You can't forgive.
Right.
You know, you can't judge and you can't forgive. If you judge, you're slated to forgive.
Right.
And you're broken both ways.
Yeah.
Only God judges and God forgives. You can let it go. If you let it go, judgment is mine.
Right.
Leave it to God and watch what happens.
Yes.
Now, I've told you before that I've had three situations where I was attempted murder in the last. I've been through lots of illnesses, and it appears that I needed to go through the whole of this and suffer all the sicknesses, most of them, that you can possibly understand. But look at me. I've survived it. I grew new capillaries. All by, doctor says I've got good news and bad news. Okay, what's the bad news? Is your bypass failed. What's the good news? You've got brand new ones. I've got them still right now, 17 years ago. And sepsis, I should have died. I didn't. Look, I'm going to say it again. Somebody tried to kill me 3 times. One, I'll give it to you. And this is a dead on. So you need to learn something. How did I get sick? I have water in front of my house. We live on the ocean here. And I swallowed filth because there's a processing plant for poop. Excuse the expression, I can't remember the name of it. So, and so it contaminated the whole area for many years after that. And I was something inside me that was eating me away. Parasite. But an amoeba, a parasite. But the doctors couldn't figure it out. And that was the beginning of my journey through the medical system. I have all the sicknesses everybody had. But the first thing that happened is when I was recovering from the operation and how can I say this? When I was recovering it, coming out of the operation room, I couldn't breathe. And I wasn't fully awake, but I was doing this in the air. But guess what? I'm coming into that room where you come from the operation, right? Nobody is allowed in there. All of a sudden, Alan comes rushing into the room. He says, my father is trying to tell you something. He's got a pencil, see? He can't breathe. And the woman said, no, they all do that. He says, no, that's not the case. What knowledge does he have? How much air I have to have inside me? But he knew. And he came right in. And he screamed and yelled. And he says, and she got very disturbed. And one of the people in there came in and went up to the doctor. The doctor comes down. And he looks at the breathing apparatus. He said, who set this? And the lady, the nurse said, I did. He says, this is made for a child, you said. Yeah, I'm trying to find a smaller person. Yeah. Had Alan intuitively comes in that way, I would have been dead. That's murder. That's murder number one. There's others just like that. And so I had pains in my stomach. I didn't understand it. But it all began when the parasite was coming out of my nose years later. That's how bad it was. And so, well, I'm just going to move on to something else. If I can remember something else right this minute.
The second murder. The second time someone tried to kill you.
I think it was the Jello.
Anyway, it was 3 times. Each time there was oh yes, I was in the hospital and they weren't treating me properly. But I have, what is the illness you have for food?
Diabetes.
Diabetes. I had diabetes because I couldn't eat anything with a little thing in my, I can't find the remember. It affected a part of my body.
Pancreas.
Pancreas, that's right. It was being eaten away. Yeah, it still is. And I wish I could really explain this, but and I said to the people supply food. I can't eat anything. Just give me Jell-O. I've been in that hospital several times, but I have what's it called? Diabetes. No sugar. Guess what? They put sugar in it, and it's killing me. And guess what? My son was there, Mark was there, and he's powerful. And he yelled at the nurse, not the nurse, the doctor. There was a woman doctor. But instead of helping me and giving me insulin, they knew what it was. They took a preacher to give me my last rites. And I screamed from my bed. I said, "You big pigs," a few things like that. But then they walked away and left me with my son. And I was in deep distress. I'm dying. And he took us down to a different level, hoping that there's some doctors down there. No doctors would show up. My own doctor wouldn't show up. But a nurse was there. And he turns to the nurse, "Do you have any insulin?" And she says, "Yes, but we need a doctor." She says, "Can you? My father's dying. Can you?" She looked both ways. She gave it. I recovered right away. That's number 2. See, I have a bad memory for that because it's really not important. I'm just making a point. Of course, I recovered from the heart because the doctor says, "I've got good news and bad news." I said, "What's the bad news?" "Your bypass failed." "What's the good news?" "You got brand new arteries." It's like that all the way through my life. You can't kill me. I have to go through it. But what was my attitude? When the doctor says, as I had some pains again, so I thought it was another heart attack. No, it wasn't. But the point is, so he looks at it, he says, I got two
New arteries.
huh?
New arteries. New arteries.
Yeah, but he says, you've got good news and bad news. Your bypass failed. What's the other one? He says, you got brand new arteries. How does it happen? How does it happen? How many times did it happen? My life has been that way. I've gone through the medical things, but what I've learned from the trials and tribulations is not to be afraid, not to struggle. Just, it is what it is. Everything bad happens for good. But in those days, I couldn't tell you that what I just said. It was early years. Some of it was early years and some just recently. But what I've learned is that trial and tribulation makes me stronger with God. I don't have anger. I don't have worry. I don't have fear. It is what it is, and it doesn't affect me. Here, what you do to me here, unnaturally, well, naturally, I suppose, destroys you. You get frustrated, you get angry, you go to this doctor, see, you want to blow your brains out, you go to psychiatrists. None of them have the answer. I measured my blood pressure last night, 110 over 65. And I forget the other one, it's just 65 heartbeat. I go on my machine this morning. I was running on it. I was running on it, and it was only 88 on the I have a little thing that gives you this heartbeat, so you know how to regulate your speed. 1/2 an hour, 88. Never went higher, much higher, just a little bit, then comes down to 79 while I'm running. Thank God. I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting more spiritual. I don't mind whatever comes, let it come. I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be disturbed, but you're going to disturb the disturber. Disturb the disturber, because it will destroy that person. The more hateful he is, the less disturbed I am. The more he fears something from me that's coming through me that I can't feel. I just, from experience, I know it's there. And so that every experience, I don't feel anything. The pain, the suffering, whatever you want to call it, I just feel the pain. I just feel the pain. I can see Jesus. He could have numbed himself, couldn't he? Self-hypnotized, or whatever you want to call it. He didn't have to, but he needed to have the pain that we all have and survive it and not hate the hurter. No matter what it is. I can tell you a little story which I've told you before. It was in the Second World War. And in the end of the war, the American soldiers come into where they were murdering the Jewish people.
Concentration camp.
Concentration camp, yes. And the people were lying around, thousands of them, bones, smelling. But there's one man, because this is what my attorney who was there told me. But he looked like he was normal. He says, "How long you been here?" He says, "I've been here 5 years." He says, "How is you're not looking like the others?" He said, "I don't know. All I know is this. I was in Warsaw, and the Germans came in and killed my three daughters right in front of my face. And something started to rise up, and all of a sudden it says, if you do that, you will die also." And so it stopped him. He said, "That's all I know." What he did is let it go. Because how can you see, if your mother dies and you're addicted to your mother, and if you think you love your mother when you don't know what love is, then if your mother dies, you cry, you moan, and she goes into the grave, and you go into the grave with her. When my mother died, she dropped dead. She was in England, and she was with her friends. When she was with her friends, she missed her boys. When she comes over to America on the Queen Elizabeth, I forget what it was, it's two of those. She wanted to, when she was here, she missed her friends. When she had a friend, she missed the boys. When she had the boys, she went backwards and forwards, and then one day she came in, and she's 55 years old. My father is dead, and so it's not a. It wasn't a hotel. It was one of those things along the freeway, you know. Motel. She dropped dead, bang. Guess what? I never felt a thing. They even dropped her off the carriage when they came in. That should have intimidated me more. And when my father died, It was just a longing. And one day, see, this is how these things work. My father, the father is more important than the mother. And I don't want you to be jealous. The man is more important than the woman. The man must have the same thing that Jesus had. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. When you understand that, see, you are living forever. You have found, in other words, the torture that people have is terrible. The whole purpose of the torture is to upset you into becoming one of them.
Cruelty.
Yeah, cruelty. What is this, what's his name? One of our, he was in...
John McCain.
John McCain.
The wicked little bastard.
Yes. He suffered 5 years struggling. He does not know he's become one of them.
Yeah.
And the powers that be put him as a potential president with
Sarah Palin.
Huh?
Sarah Palin.
Against Obama.
Oh, you again?
Obama.
Yeah.
So whichever one you got, you would have lost your country. That's how clever it all is.
Yeah, he saved Obamacare.
Yeah. Well, never mind the Obamacare. We're talking about becoming the president. So whichever one do you understand the
Not
power?
the same thing.
Yeah. It's just that they're both the same. One looks different from the others, but
One
it's
is
still the
black and
same.
one is white, but they're both the same inside.
So I tweeted that, I've tweeted that. I made that point. I saw it then. But other people didn't. And the reason why other people didn't, because they trust what their eyes see. And those who are decent those who are indecent are more of them than those who are decent. That is the point when Obama got in. There was more of them than there is of us. And that is the beginning of civil war. That's how countries all fall apart. Slowly but surely, there's more and more and more of them. Appeasing, and allowing them to see perversion as freedom. Freedom to smoke, freedom to screw, freedom to everything. This country was built on one God. One God. Maybe you can I'm not have the memory, the things but I know what I'm talking about. And so I just need the name of it.
One nation under God.
One nation under God, that's right. And that's what it should be. Because this is a nation under God. There's one nation under God with something.
Liberty and justice for all.
Yes. What was that?
Liberty and justice for all.
Yes. My wife, who has a better memory than me, believe it or not, she can say it. You can say it. Can you say it?
Of course, but I don't.
Let me hear you say it. I like to hear you say it. Do you remember it?
I did until you put me in a corner. No, I don't want to say it.
All right.
It's a little embarrassing.
I know, but you
So-
said it perfectly last night.
I know.
It was a good sign.
Justice for all.
All right.
That's it.
Now, coming back from me to you, the stillness, perhaps you can sense my stillness. If you're in the stillness where there's no time, The time is for your body. And the body is the extension of God. But how can I say this? Your body is subject to time and the affection or infection around you always. And when you came into the world, you had intuition again. And the scripture says, if you go to the scripture, it says, unless you become a little child, or as a little child, you can no ways enter the kingdom of God. It's clear. Then it says, be still and know I am God. Nobody else is, not even you. See? So those two, you put them together. And Jesus says, why call me good? There's no one but good but him. So Jesus was the extension, the deliverer of us, so that when he appears on the scene, he has a light instead of emotion. He has the realm of everlasting life, which no human being can conceive of. They can conceive of darkness and maybe not, and be okay with darkness because it has a value for them, in a manner of speaking, which isn't a value at all, but to them it's a value. It makes them feel strong and big like Hitler. And the people that follow him, and so on and so forth. But your experience is simply to understand that of yourself you can do nothing. And Jesus said the same thing. He is the extension, the very first one that ever lived. The other one was Adam. And he lost it. And God in his wisdom realized, of course, he knew that if he made a million of them, they all do the same thing. And there's no redemption. So what did he do? He made it possible. See now, because you have done this thing, you become entwined, or the word that means entwined become, what word am I looking for when it means you become part of another person?
Infield? Field?
No, I don't think that's a good word.
Join?
But it's a molding, a coming to becoming part of the woman. So he's a woman man.
It became one flesh. You become one flesh.
Become one flesh. That is the right word. You become one flesh. So when the child, a man-child comes into the world, especially the man, of course the woman-child too, but the mother is always in charge. Ever since paradise was lost, and Eve took charge, and he listened to the voice of his woman. That was what happened. Because you've done these things, you become
one flesh.
One flesh. And so therefore men tend to have sex or look to the woman because, like an animal, he comes out from the woman, and when he gets older, he looks at the woman and is pulled in to support his ego. In other words, he looks for his emptiness. In other words, the mother takes care of that child. The father is the father is weak and feeble and an appeaser, or he is a bully. There is only two things that men do. And the only other thing is virtue, but they haven't got virtue. Most men do not have virtue because they've been brought up with a wicked mother or a nice mother that emboldens, extends herself into him and make him dependent on her. So he will always look for the love of his mother. Or the man will run away, and there's a different system out there, but it really works in the same way. There's no happiness anywhere. Because if he's a bully, he's going to take as much as woman as he can out of her, take all the feelings out of her and force her to give him feelings, a feeling of strength, a feeling of being something that is really nothing, and in conflict with he's something in conflict with his human, and he cannot stop. And she hates him. And she hates him, she feels guilty. When she feels guilty, she gives more of herself, but what she's giving is poison to him. And she's like a pusher, except it's called sex and giving in. And what comes up through her is the dark side. And he either goes crazy or he beats her into pulp to get that, or goes to another woman and does the same thing with her, see, etc., etc. He never can make it. And so every human being on earth has this problem, except a few who get it. But fewness is not enough. They'll kill us. So they have to create as many perverts as possible, and perverts and degenerates, and they're on the left. But it doesn't mean to say they're not on the right, but at least they got the verses and chapters. And it's a formidable one anyway, but it's not good enough. They have to find it for the world to be complete, so that wars, sickness, disease, and suffering could go away. It has to be more of us than them. If there's more of them than us, we're finished. That's why I'm on the air. I've got to share this with all the world, starting in English. That's why when I'm working on it now, so when I pass away, everything's going to be free. And the only way we're going to get money is the people who are getting better have money and send donations. With those donations, we make sure that everybody who can't afford it affords it, don't have to pay anything. It will work that way. It must be self-fixing. But I have to say right now, the whole world, you go to China, you go to Africa, wherever you go, the problem is exactly the same. The war with each other, the war with the enemy, which you nearly always lose because we're trying to forget, we do not know what peace is. But peace is not giving in. Not giving in. But then you cannot give in because you get angry and you're not going to give in. You're already given in. It's already got inside you. It has to be calm. You have to, in order to be the extension of God, you cannot have any emotion whatsoever, not the tiniest bit. And be still and know is where it is. I have the gift of discovering these things, what be still and know is. It's a 7-minute meditation. Because what happens is when you do it with a good heart, it doesn't work for everybody. In a matter of, is that little child there still? And as you become as a little child, you don't have intuition. That's it. You have intuition. I know you do. But some people hate intuition. They hate other people who have intuition because it makes them see what they don't want to see about themselves. And you have to endure that. Because it's one of those things, everything bad happens for good. Doesn't matter how bad it is, it doesn't bother you. You just hold your ground in the eternal now. That's where love is. Love is within you. And that's where evil is, the dark side. And and so they draw from the dark side. And we draw from the bright side. But the point is, unless you can disconnect your relationships with your parents, honor your mother and father, that your days may be long in the land the Lord thy God giveth thee, right? But there's more to that. But why did he say that? Jesus said, while he's dying, he screamed it out to make a point. Forgive them, Father. They don't know what they're doing. They really do not know what they're doing because they're born into a culture that produces a hypnotic state. And I've discovered that hypnotic states, everybody has it, but they don't know they have it because they can seem so normal with it. Because they do have behaviors in various countries, which are different, but they all have the same purpose: kindness, thoughtfulness, whatever. You know, having the ability to be someone. But someone is nothing. He's full of knowledge, cunning. He may not even realize it himself. He may think he's a good person. You got Obama. Look at Obama. He was a little boy, little kid when he had the same intuitiveness, but he got twisted. And in other words, instead of loving us and doing the right thing like Trump does, he appeased the worst, he loved the worst in people. And people love to be loved by somebody like the Cannibal King. If a Cannibal King, all the cannibals, you may be one of the people who can see it. But the minute they see that you can see them, they put you in the soup pot. As it would be in Hitler Germany. Because there's so many of them than those that are decent. Is he asleep? I hope so. Okay. Yes, he could be listening. Anyway, understand that you have, if you want, look, you never created yourself, and you cannot fix yourself. As doctors can't fix you, all they can do is relieve your pain, and so you function. But you're functioning with the symptom, being numbed. So you think you feel better. But as long as you have emotions, as long as you think feeling good is good, the feeling is good. You're looking for feelings, looking for feelings, looking for feelings, looking for feelings. And so you can actually live till 98 years old but you have no soul. You just don't know what your life is all about. Your life is about living forever. Your life is meant forever. So if your body goes into the grave, that's not a big deal, because you find yourself somewhere else. You find yourself where that place that gave you love. In other words, Jesus cannot be killed. He makes the point. He demonstrated death to prove. And this is really interesting. He knew he's going to be killed. And he asked his father, please can you take it off? He says, otherwise, but he didn't. And therefore, he suffered all that terrible pain. The worst you can have, degraded mentally, emotionally, and physically. And he didn't hate the hurter. He cried out, forgive them, Father. Not we forgive them. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. As if God didn't know, but he makes the point. You need to find what I have been given. I have been given that from the day I was born. I can remember almost the day I was born. And I remember what it spoke to me. And when I could speak a few words, I could put what was said to me. Time passes very quickly in a minute speaking, so it seems to be all at once. What is the meaning of life? It's always been in me. What's the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to live forever. But you have to earn it. So Jesus makes the point. And you had the scribes and Pharisees. Verses and chapters. Bingo. Get away from verses and chapters. Open the Bible yourself. It's there. And just wait until page after page after page. And just pick it up when you're ready. Pick it up when you least expect it. Oh, there is the Bible. I'll just take a look. Even the taking of the Bible, or whatever it is, hearing somebody else say something, oh, I see that. Where does it say that? You got it already. There's something so beautifully deep in all those words. But they're not deep if you have to memorize them and stand on the stage, like a person on the stage. You just open the Bible and just click, click, click. If I read a book, that book looks good, I don't do that anymore. I've got what I mean. But there was a time I go, frick, frick, but in physics I would do that. Physics, I might do that today. Tick, 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 tick. Oh, they don't know that. I see that. No, it's not true. Like, for instance, gravity. Well, I always thought, here's the scripture. In the beginning. I've talked to you before, but it fits in. The first words, if I remember, is in the beginning, there was the void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. That means nothing to anybody, not even to physicists. But it meant something to me. See? In the beginning, there's a void. What is a void? It's infinite emptiness. Because if you didn't have infinite emptiness, you couldn't have a universe, could you? Infinite emptiness is gravity. Where does the gravity come from? Oh, wow. In the beginning, there was a void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. I get that. It's expanse, infinite expanse for the making of an infinite world. an unfolding world forever. Because that's what it is. Somebody blowing up a balloon and blowing up a balloon and blowing up a balloon. And that's the universe is that way. There's forces, the gravity is coming from somewhere. And the root of everything is, in the beginning there's a void. You can't have a void, you can't have a universe. You have to have infinity of the void. Void is infinite nothing. But it is, the nothing is so important that if you didn't have the nothing, you couldn't have anything. You have to have expanse forever to grow, to evolve. Where did it come from? In the next chapter, and God said, let there be light. Now, the Bible is now being, I'm missing a word here. Physics. It meets with physics. I'm just talking about something to make a point here. It's physics, but what that infinitely hot, let there be light forever. Now, where did that come from? If you're looking at it, where does it come? You've got the universe, you don't understand what's outside the universe. What's outside the universe is inside us. See? But the point is there's physics here. And I see physics because how did the infinitely hot get there? How can something cold make something hot? What is a nothing? Can it make it can only make nothing. So I see what the physicists do not see. They call it by a name, singularity. Singularity means what infinitely hot means. In other words, in the beginning there was that. And God says, let there be light. Where did that come from? That's the question. Where it came from, I can see it in me. The only place I can see what we're talking about is it's because whatever is in me made me eternal. I know what I can't describe it. I can't see it. I'm not meant to see it. You can't look at the face of God in this state. But I know it's in me. And I know it's there. I know there's love there. And Jesus came and there was love there. It was the first man that ever had love, redeeming love. All the rest of it's nothing. And this is a Jewish boy talking. Yes.
Another part of the Bible, it says, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Correct.
And you know, it never, the Christians in the churches, they say the Word was Jesus. And it never made sense to me that about this pre-existence of Jesus. So I think it was a mistranslation. I think in the beginning there was truth, and the truth was with God, and the truth was God.
Exactly. Yeah. And so in your suffering, when you come into the world, you become one of them for a period of time. And everything goes wrong and you're unhappy. And you realize there's something more to the life, and then you look for it and you seek it and you will find it.
Yep.
It will come to you. Yep. It will. Sooner or later, you see, no matter how much you try, you're only going to make yourself worse. You didn't create yourself, therefore you can't fix yourself. And it's the same with the whole world. It continues. What I can do is not me so much, is I'm an extension of Jesus, basically, because he was the first one. He was not like us. He had a different father. It was God himself, putting himself in there. And when you saw him, he glowed. When I say he glowed, he was different. If you see him and hear him what he says, it touched something in all the people around. And the scribes and Pharisees, scumbags that they were, like the preachers and rabbis today, I don't like to deal with those people. How dare they? We can see it for ourselves. I don't need anybody outside to tell me anything. My teacher is what I'm expressing today, is within me.
It's true. I used to go out to sea in my youth, and there was a gentleman that came to relieve a chief mate, and he just walked on the deck of that tanker. And when he came to shake hands to us, to meet us, what popped out, it didn't come out of my head, it popped out of, from within. I says, I see the Spirit of God in this man. And you can see the Spirit of God in men, in people, in women. It's just
correct,
obvious.
Many people have what they don't know they have. They don't understand, but they seem to be steady. And there are those who find it and don't know they have it. We don't need those. They recognize it. They already have it. But you need it. You need to find the stillness. And the key is no judgment. Judgment is mine, saith the Lord. The next one is you can't forgive. You can let it go. That would be better. That would be close. It might be it. If you can just let it go. They don't know any better. If you grasp that, and it may not be enough, except you go to the rigmarole, which I have to share with you. But if you can just let it go, I said, the very first time, I remember this, I told you about my cousin Arnold. That knot that was in my stomach when he said something cruel. I said, how can that be a stone in my hair? It's what it feels, 8 years old. Well, guess what I did? Nothing. I said, all right, I let it go. I've been letting it go forever, and that's all it was to it. I got it then. I just let it go. And I've been letting it go forever. I didn't realize until I got older and older, hypnosis and everything. Oh, it's that simple. I've been letting it go. I just remembered, oh, that's where it started. But my father was a good father, so when my father died, and I had an experience, and the experience was all of a sudden walking down the street with just a little pain here, and something says, your father didn't die. I'm your father. I've said this before. But it was plain. I love the Father you could not see. I love the Father, but he was a good person. So what was ever in him, I long for, that was within him. And he loved the Father, but he never mentioned it. He never taught me anything. I said, what's the meaning of God? What's the meaning of life, Dad? I remember just being a kid. He said, you'll find it for yourself. That's all. And he was a good example. Then he died. I think he died from a gas in the World War II or something like that. I've done enough talking, have I? And I don't remember things so much but it's still there.
Roy, your message is so simple, And even though you repeat yourself over and over, if we learn to listen without our minds and listen with our heart, it will begin to penetrate. And it doesn't matter the words are repeated if they're coming from the right
I
place.
agree. So I can just do the best I can. The sepsis had its effect on here. So the words don't come as easy. And a few other things happened. But I'm getting older.
No.
Yeah, I'm getting older.
Getting better.
Except, you know, I whacked somebody the other day.
You'll pay for that.
Wow. Well, I still have it. Because, you know, when the opportunity happens, and so that I was able to get through the door, and somebody was inside there messing with it, it didn't matter who it was, to go right in there. That's what I've always done. I always win. The only time I didn't win, when I was,
You saw a little pride.
yeah, there was only one time, and it taught me a lesson. I have to learn not to create a problem, you know, to get upset and get, no, you can't do that to me. Bang. And then I get bang back, and I'm done. But when it's right, it's time, you're right into it, immediately without thinking. So when I sat, just to finish off, in Ventura there was a gang, and I told you about that, but I was in the street, and I stood there, and the cars are going up and down. I was not going to move. Now, I wondered why that was the case, because no, I wasn't brave. It's just, I couldn't move. I didn't want to move. And the cars were coming down at me, and instead, I knew I'd get run over, but they stopped just there. And the rest of it is history. I took care of everything, and they all ran away. All the bad guys ran away from next door. I've told you the story many times.
But you don't. You mention it in passing, which is fine, but to me the thing that struck me most in hearing the story is that you didn't stand there in pride and obstinance. You stood there not even knowing why you were there.
I don't know what's going to come
It
next.
somehow passes everybody else's mind, but to me that is a miracle, and it's the miracle I want to be. I want to be the one who's not strong, but who stands there anyway, just because I'm meant to.
Well, I was facing a whole gang of 20 people, basically. And so I'm not going to let them go up down the street because there's a dead end. So
But there's strength in innocence.
there is strength there. Yes. In pure innocence. And you always have him. The only way you can know that beyond the void, how many people can even conceive of being beyond the void? How can you be beyond the nothing? I mean, that's how it was in the beginning. Nothing. And that nothing was something. It's valuable. But then the next part of it is it hits your head. And then God said, let there be light. But the let there be light is physics. But where does this come from? The physicists do not want you to know. They give it a name called
Singularity. Singularity?
singularity. Yes. A singularity. They give it a name. It burns and burns and burns and burns and burns for millions and millions and millions and millions and never stops. If you stop blowing up a balloon, it will collapse. And so there's got to go, it's come over, but they know it. They don't say, why is this? They just accept it. And it is, so I want to connect God to physics and say to the physicists, How does something stay hot in the void? And what is gravity to you? Gravity isn't the ultimate beginning. The void is the beginning. And then the infinitely hot comes and flows as gravity in a special way.
And in our life, we must allow for the void so that the Spirit can come in. And if we fill the void ourselves, it will never come in.
Exactly.
And that's what the meditation is about.
That's right. The meditation wipes away. God sees it coming. He sees it, and he takes the emotional energy that drives the animal and conflicts the human. Because
I see it. I see it now. I had experience like you, where you're doing things, but you're doing things not from memory and not from knowledge. You're doing things
because it needs to be done.
Because it needs to be done, and you're right there in the moment. Nobody has to tell you anything. You know it. Somehow this is a knowing, the unknown knowing.
From moment to moment. As you see, I have problems with the language, but I have no problems with intuition. I know what to do. And so I'm losing my language. But the language I have is, there's a name for it, it's 800 words, basic English. I don't need all those other things that they talk about on the screen.
No, you can't have any of those things. If those things get in the way, this is the emptiness, the void that you must have to be infilled by your Father, your Heavenly Father.
Well, Jesus, he spoke to uneducated people with simple words. And beautiful, simple words. The words start from the beginning. It's all the things you need. You don't need all the physics. You don't need the physics. You don't need anything. You don't need an education. You don't want an education, because we just discovered it just a little while ago. And I've forgotten how I said it, but I just forgot how I said it. Because you see, Jesus spoke only in simple language. And the simple language is what brings you to the intuition, and the intuition will give you whatever it is you need to know, to speak, to be a scientist, to be anything. But mostly to endure forever. And that's the key. You could be forever dead or forever alive. You choose it. And the intuition is there. And whatever you need. I'm a physicist. I have written a book and I haven't finished it. I need to put something on the front. I got everything right until I was able to open the Bible. There it was. After all this, in the beginning. What is the beginning? Nothing. So what are we talking about? There's the void, and then there's that which has created us, not just the whole universe, not just because of the world, but the world needs to be leaves and flowers and bees. It needs to be that for us to live on this planet forever. There's no other place we're going to go. We're going to live. We will somehow manifest ourselves. Whether you were burned in a fire, you will be like Jesus. They killed him, tear him to pieces. 3 days, he comes. Guess what? He's got a new clothes on. And you can laugh about that. But if he can turn water into wine, when I can only turn wine into water, which I think is a miracle too, how does it happen? Have you ever heard, you drink the wine, And what comes out? Water. I'm just making points. How does it do it? You don't know how it's done, do you? You don't know why your heart beats. It's magic. Not just for animals, for us. Because animals don't have an awareness that appreciates the Creator. We need to appreciate the Creator and give ourselves to Him. That's all. That's all that's necessary. Choose your fate. Choose your fate. And I give you a key. Let it go. If you want a simple version of it, let it go. Let it go. You can't fix it. Your mother couldn't fix it. And she caused you to not be able to fix it when you have within you intuition. Can you hear me? You have intuition, don't you? You can hear what I'm saying, correct?
Not only can I hear you, but today as you spoke, because the last couple weeks, something has changed inside of me. And what I saw today, and I'm not sure why it's making me cry because it's not sad. I'm not sad.
Okay.
Is that as you spoke of that outside, I found faith. I only saw it for a second as I sat here today. I'm sorry, I'm crying. I don't know what I'm crying.
It's all right.
I've doubted. I've doubted my whole life.
But you didn't make yourself doubt. Someone did it.
I truly, truly see that now. I truly can disconnect from that something. It had me very convinced that I was not worthy of God.
But that's not true.
Of course it's not true. Because, and I'm saying this, it's going to come out wrong, but I have to say it this way, is because I am God, and I don't mean God. I am the essence. I am the essence of what created me. And I've been so busy trying to wonder why I'm bad, or wonder why I'm impatient, or wonder why I'm doing what I'm doing. And now, as you speak, the simplicity is so simple that you cannot, it's almost so simple that you make it so much harder than what it is.
Yes.
Because it's so, that faith, I see that mustard seed that he speaks of, to have the faith of a mustard seed is all you need, because that's all you need. Then it grows. And I'm not sure why I'm crying. I'm very, and I'm going to use the word happy. I'm just appreciative that I can see the silliness that's had such a strong hold on me for a very long time. That's all I need to say.
It's really, you're right back now, close to Paradise Lost.
Mm-hmm.
See, and intuition. A little kid comes into it, and God knows when you come into the world will come into you, and for a period of time, you suffer.
Yes.
But it's the suffering that makes you wonder, why is suffering? I try to be happy, but I don't know how to be happy. And pretty soon you realize there's got to be something wrong, something missing. Intuitively. Now, if you didn't have the intuitiveness, then you can't function. You never, but it's still with you. It never went away. You never took it away. You still have it. Now you've come back to it.
Yes.
It loves you.
Yes.
It's your downfall, basically, because you come into the world but you come into the world and you're not guilty. See, when we come into the world, Adam came into the world and became guilty, but you didn't come into the world with guilt. You can't have a baby that's guilty that comes into the world. See? But the point is, the reason why you suffer because you have the intuition, and the darkness of your parent will take that away, like it was taken away from them, and all the way back to Paradise Lost. And only a few, narrow is the way, and few are those that find it. But it's coming to a time where people can find it, through people like me and you and other people radiating. It's not so much speech, it's the presence of your person. That is the magic. The present. Then the words come next. Okay?
Well, I see that the tears come from the fact that we realize we don't deserve it. It's by grace.
It's a grace, but it's such a beautiful thing. It's hard to explain. I've done my best to explain how beautifully simple it is if you give up struggling with your own self as if you created yourself. You have to go back to the factory, in a manner of speaking. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.